Thanks for tuning in to As the Tire Turns podcast. Before we dive into this week's episode, I'd like to thank our sponsor, AME International. Tire professionals insist on AME. I'd also like to recognize the AACF. For over 65 years, the Automotive Aftermarket Charitable Foundation has stood by those in the automotive aftermarket industry and their families during life's toughest challenges. Since 1959, with the incredible support of industry partners, AACF has provided vital assistance to individuals and families facing financial hardship due to unforeseen circumstances, such as floods, earthquakes, storms, fires, catastrophic medical conditions, life-changing accidents, devastating fatalities, and more. AACF offers a straightforward application process and a quick turnaround time for those needing support during critical moments. Visit www.aftermarketcharity.org to access the application and learn more about how AACF can assist during times of need. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of our automotive aftermarket family. Support AACF today. And now, As the Tire Turns.
It was the spring of '96, but it was a Bulls game, and I sent it off, and it was like those. Okay, I tried. You know what I mean? You never know what's going to happen with those things. I sent it off, and then literally a week later, I get a phone call, and he's like, "This is Marvin Bozarth with the American Retraders Association."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I know who you are."
Yeah.
And you're calling me.
Yeah.
And we talked for about a half hour, 45 minutes on the phone, and he said, "I want you to come down to Louisville, and I want to meet you in person. I want to talk to you." So my wife actually at the time was my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she had family in Louisville, so I'm like, call him Aunt Linda. Shout out to Aunt Linda. Can we stay with her? And she's like, sure. And I explained the whole thing to her, and like any successful person, that you gotta have a supportive spouse behind you. I know you have the same with.
Absolutely.
Not just with your wife, but your family as well, and
Yep.
they support you. And she was behind me. She said, "You're going to get the job." And she's bringing stuff home from work, and I'm like, "I haven't even interviewed yet." "Oh, you're going to get the job. We're moving." I'm like, "Just slow down."
That's
you know
great.
what I mean? But ended up did it, and yeah, he was. Marvin was I always say he was. Marvin was international. He was born in Paris and educated in Mexico. He was born in Paris, Missouri.
Oh,
Paris, Missouri,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
went to
yeah.
Mexico high school.
Yeah, that's
so
funny.
born in Paris and educated in Mexico.
That's funny.
He learned it all hands-on, learned it all in the shop, and it wasn't just Marvin, but it was Ed Wagner.
Right.
Because Ed Wagner was still around, and he was still doing the expert witness stuff.
Right.
And I was doing stuff with him as well. So here I am, learning at the feet
From
Marvin Bozarth and Ed Wagner.
Yeah.
And then I got the job, and then Peggy Fisher was adamant that I go to TMC, and now I'm learning from the Dave Laubes at Bridgestone, and the Doug Jones at Michelin, and the Al Combs and the Asa Sharps at Goodyear,
Yeah.
and the Dale Overtons at Accuride. And I mean, these iconic engineers that have just, Greg Katzis,
Yeah.
who was with Sturtevant Richmond, and just the things that they taught me
Greg
as
Katzis,
they're engineers.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
engineers. I mean, these guys are smart.
Right.
And I ask a ton of questions, still do.
Right.
If I don't know, I ask. And they took the time to answer every one of my questions. Dave Walters with Alcoa, still around today.
Yeah.
And Dave and I have been together. We have a hell of a lot of fun together. But just learning from all these people and all those people that have helped me along the way. But that all started with Marvin. And Marvin was the one that said, look, he said, "You're greener than corn in July, but you've got the attitude, the experience, you've got the writing ability, you've got that energy that I want in this position."
You've got moxie.
I don't know about moxie. But, it was having him there, and, I've said it so many times before, him putting his stamp on what we were doing meant a lot to a lot of people in the
Absolutely.
industry. And when you have that type of endorsement, it makes a difference. And now, it kind of carries over to me now with, when I'm hiring trainers, whether it's Matt or whether it's Sean or whether it's Jose or now Ryan, that if Kevin says you're a good trainer and you're working for him and you're wearing the logo, then you got to be something.
Right.
And I got that from Marvin. I mean, Marvin said from the flat out, "Look, if this doesn't work, I'm going to cut you loose."
Right.
And he made it very clear that and others did as well on the board, that there were really high expectations for what I was doing. And it was on me. And I love that.
Sure.
I welcome the challenge. I mean, I want to take that last shot.
Sure.
You miss every shot you don't take kind of a guy.
Yeah.
And I'm a competitor, and I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
So I was driven at the beginning, and you know, my wife Debbie was just behind me 100% and said, look, you're going to be gone a lot. Sound familiar? But that's what it takes to build a business, and I understand that. And this is what you do, and it's what you love, and you're good at it. So I'm going to get behind you, and then hopefully down the road, you know, we can reap the benefits a little bit better, and certainly worked out the way for both of us, and in that sense, and you know, definitely takes a team behind us. As good as we are at what we do, we can't do anything without the people around us, and I'm no different. And it's not just that, but then it's, you know, you got Chris Hugenboom, who started as a receptionist.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we needed a training coordinator, and Marvin was going to hire a new training coordinator, and I said, no.
Yeah.
My training coordinator is our receptionist who sits across from my desk.
Yeah.
She would listen to me answer phone calls, and then she would remember it, and then she would answer it that way, and then I would coach her.
Yeah.
And now she's the director of training and runs the whole thing day to day. And then, of course, the merger happens, and then I find Sandra, who's, you know, I can't say enough great things about Sandra Martinez. I mean, she's amazing.
I would agree.
You know, I mean, you take the Chris and Sandra, the rest of us are just here to do the things that, you know, they run everything. You know, the rest of us just kind of do our things. But no, I definitely, Marvin was instrumental in the whole thing. He hired me, he coached me, he mentored me, he warned me about people. You know, I think that's another thing that he did. That careful with that guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to tell you that. I mean, I got a phone call from this guy, and he wants to do this and this and this.
Yeah.
And Marvin's like, yeah, he's said that to me as well. Don't.
Yeah.
You know, be careful with him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's both. I mean, it's so many different ways. And when Marvin retired, you know, we were at his retirement dinner. I remember this so well. This was 24 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, 2000, 2001. And I kind of told him this, and I still believe it to the day. I said, you know, there's only one person on this planet I'm going to call Dad. That's my dad.
Yeah.
My father taught me more than I could ever imagine, you know, and made me who I am today in many ways, so you can blame him too. But certainly, he's the only one ever called boss.
Yeah.
I don't call anybody else boss.
Yeah.
I always call Marvin boss.
Yeah.
Because I had that much respect for him, and I saw how much respect people had for him.
Yeah.
That was the difference. That's where Marvin and I had those conversations.
Yeah.
He's like, the thing in this business that lasts, the thing in this business that's going to keep you around is respect.
Yeah.
If people respect you, you'll make it.
Yeah.
If people don't respect you in this business, you're not going to last very long. So he taught me that very early on, is to earn their respect and understand that you can lose it real fast.
Yeah.
So that was, again, it was a great place for me to be in my early 30s, is working for a guy like that. And then when he retired, the merger came along, and then he was still working for us.
Sure.
So I still kind of had him there, but then the roles kind of started switching a little bit. And, you know, I was becoming more teacher to him and stuff because,
Sure.
you know, I was learning from, you know, the Daves and
The industry, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and I think that's what I love about the tire business, is that everybody's willing to help.
Yeah.
It's not a real, you know, I don't want to show you this because, you know.
I would agree.
You know,
That's stuffy, yeah.
It is. I mean, and it's a tough business, but it's a rewarding business. And I'm proud to be part of it for 42 years now, if you can think about that. I've been doing this 42 years.
Wow.
Which means I'm old and started young.
Yeah.
And that's about that's about all it means.
So you mentioned travel,
Yeah.
and I've had a couple of these myself. But what would you say? This is a two-part question.
Okay.
Kind of your biggest pinch me, or I don't know if we can use the term fangirl or not, right? You know, where you just kind of like in awe or something. But over I'll say first celebrity, or you know. Somebody, because you've met a lot of people, right, through the conferences and the meetings and things like that, right? You know, sometimes there'll be professional speakers and so on, or just even traveling at the airport and running into somebody.
No, I actually have it. I actually have it for you. I actually have who that would be. Mark Nutsch.
And Mark Nutsch would be okay.
Mark Nutsch was the movie Horse Soldiers, the 12 Horse Soldiers, the one with Hemsworth.
Okay, yeah.
He was OTR conference.
Was it Saddlebrook? I think
it was Saddlebrook. It was Saddlebrook. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know the name.
That was Captain Mark Nutsch. Still have an autographed bottle of his whiskey.
Horse Soldier.
In my I have he autographed it.
That's awesome.
And I have it in my trophy case in my office at home.
Yeah.
But that was definitely because you see the movie.
Absolutely.
And you're like, and I mean, movie stars they're actors. That's why they're actors, because they can't do anything else.
Yeah.
All right. But this guy's the real deal.
Yeah.
And he did that, and he was there, and he was the most nicest, gentle, down to earth, regular guy. You're like, you'd see him, you're like, who the heck is this clown?
Yeah.
Like, that clown fought tanks on horseback.
Yeah, and
that's who that guy is.
His story, right? Just kind of out shopping or something like that, gets his call.
Yeah.
Hey.
But that to me was that, if you're looking for that person, that would be that person for me, and I've met some other great speakers over the years. I got to meet Mike Singletary back in the day, and all that. But the one that really impressed me the most, that I was all fanboy over, still have the picture on my phone of me and Mark Nutsch, because again, just this guy's an American hero.
Absolutely.
I mean, top level. And I have a lot of respect. My father was in the military. My grandfather was in the military. My cousin. I have a nephew right now in the Navy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eric on the Nimitz. Not there yet, but you will be.
There you go.
But I mean, I have a ton of respect for the military and law enforcement, and just anybody that serves in that capacity, that's willing to put their life on the line so that I can sit in a hotel room in Florida with you and talk about tires. I appreciate that more than anything. And that guy's the real deal.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
the real deal. And he was so unnissuming.
So down to earth.
Yeah, exactly. And so anything but in reality.
Fun story about that. He, we because it was close to our facility, prior to the conference, we reached out to a handful of people and said, hey, if you want to, right, we're only about 30 minutes away, we'll schedule a little bus and bring some people. So we did a tour of our facility, and afterwards, right, just want to send a nice little thank you and so on. And I thought, boy, what a great gift. And so we went out and bought, I don't know, 18, 20 bottles of that Horse Soldier bourbon.
Yeah.
Made a very local local liquor dealer very happy. But it's also, I learned, you're not really supposed to ship alcohol, I guess. I guess you need like a ATF license or tax or something like that. So, that was a giant.
Edit that out. It's already passed. That was statute of limitations. You're good.
Well, most of them got okay, but one or two Canadians, I think, and I went
that's
across the board.
customs. Yeah,
and I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it was rejected. So anyway, all right. So the second part of that is then location. Has there been somewhere where you just say to yourself, like, I'm a kid from Elgin, Illinois. Like, what the heck am I doing here? How did I get here? Where is it?
Ivalo, Finland.
Okay.
We did the Nokian Tires.
Okay.
And Nokian Tires wanted to do a winter tire video, and they financed it and funded it.
Yeah.
And they sent me and Pete. Shout out to Pete, my boy.
Yeah, there you go.
Pete and I went to Ivalo, Finland.
Yeah.
300 miles north of the Arctic Circle.
Wow.
You could see Russia. You're like, see that hill over there? That's Russia.
Yeah.
And 26 below zero high of the day, and doing winter tire testing on a test track in Ivalo, Finland.
Wow.
And running Volkswagen GTI 5-speeds on a ice track on a frozen lake.
They don't wear it, right? They run forever in the cold, right?
What they like about it is the consistency, because it gets so cold that the lakes freeze perfectly flat.
Gotcha.
And then the snow is so cold that it's light.
Yeah.
So you can hit the snowbank. And I remember the first day we were there, and I can't do a Finnish accent, so I'm not going to offend the entire country of Finland. But the guy who ran the track was like, we got to the first day, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, we're testing tires. He's like, no, you're not.
Yeah. I'm
like, yeah, we were. We were there all day. He's like, yeah, but my driver went out last night to plow the track, and he said it was perfectly clean. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the whole goal. He's like, no. He's like, if you're going to test tires, you got to push them to the limit. And if you're not crashing into snow blanks, you ain't pushing the limits.
That's funny.
So the next day, we tore that up.
Yeah, went back out.
He had work to do on day two. But I mean, you'd hit the banks at 20, 30 miles an hour, and the snow would go poof.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't hurt anything because it was so light and airy that it was like running into pillows.
Did you?
That was fun.
Did you sauna while you were there?
What's that?
Did you sauna?
No, we didn't have any time. And actually, even we couldn't drink.
Gotcha.
We couldn't drink.
Because of the test track.
Finland has incredibly strict drunk driving laws.
Yeah.
And they said flat out, if you get in an accident on our property and you have any alcohol in your system, you're out.
Yeah.
I mean, like as in out, as in banned.
Yeah.
Get out, go home.
Yeah.
You're not allowed back. So we were like, let's just. And besides, we were tired. We didn't.
Yeah.
We were so tired from shooting all day long, and that cold weather just saps you.
Yeah.
And you're in and out.
I think that's why they sauna.
Yeah, probably, but we didn't know. We didn't sauna, but
okay.
we did eat a lot of reindeer.
Okay.
We did eat a lot of reindeer. So
Yeah.
my apologies to all the reindeer fan out there. But that's their cows. I mean, they have a lot of reindeer in Finland.
Yeah.
So that's their protein. That's their meat. So we ate a lot of reindeer steaks and some reindeer sandwiches and all kinds of stuff like that. And so that was interesting. It was the first time I'd ever eat reindeer. It was okay.
Yeah.
I prefer a steak.
Yeah.
I'm a Midwestern kid, so you know me. Steak and potatoes.
That's too funny. All right. So kind of wrapping up, just curious, do you see AI, artificial intelligence, right, making an impact in our industry, right? It's obviously not going to change a tire, but
No.
but in other areas and so on. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are spaces for AI, particularly in like predictive maintenance.
Yeah.
I think if I'm going to point at one thing, I'd predict that there was that, you put in data, and they're already doing it in Earthmover. It's already being done in Earthmover and some in truck as well, but being able to plan when you're going to need tires. I mean, I think Earthmover probably pioneered it more than anybody in terms of, look, you're not going to just go to your local store and pick up a 57-inch tire.
Yeah.
So you got to know when you're going to need tires. So I think AI definitely has some potential in predicting when things are going to break down and when certain maintenance services need to take place, in terms of that I don't want to say preventive maintenance. Again, it's predictive maintenance. I see it there. We've talked about it in terms of other areas, and I just don't know that it's going to work without the experience, and AI only can work with what's out there.
For sure.
And I think in our industry, especially when it comes to the service side of things, it's not all out there.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it's here, and it's not just here, but it's in the other minds of all the other professionals that are out there in the industry that know those things that nobody else knows,
right,
and has those experiences that nobody else has. I mean, AI is great when you have known things, but when you don't, what's AI going to do? AI is going to search the internet and come up with answers on what they can find, and they're not always going to be the right answers.
No, correct. There's been a couple of high-profile instances where it's pulled data from Reddit forums or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, and we talked about it again about some of the social media groups that are out there for different tire stuff like that, and 25% of it's good, 25% of it you don't know, and 50% you're like, dude, why are you even?
Right.
Go do something else, man. You're going to hurt yourself or somebody else.
Right.
So I think that in those cases maybe it might be a little bit different, but certainly there are different tools, and I know that fleets are using it now as well in terms of again that. So I'm gonna go predictive maintenance on the AI and use that as like kind of where I think it's got the most possibility for success and benefits. I think it's
and maybe that's along the same lines that we say maybe analyzing data because you mentioned TMC, Maintenance Council, Technology Maintenance Council, and I was there a few years ago, and somebody had pointed out, they said, been coming to the show for a long time, and used to be lots of products and things of that nature, and now like every third booth was some form of technology, and so.
Well, you got TPMS has finally gotten into the truck tire industry. I've been harping on that for years.
Yeah.
That tires are expensive, and TPMS is going to save you a ton of money, I think, on retail and commercial as well. And I think that's where we play a role as TIA, is that I've said this so many times, the greatest technology in the world doesn't mean anything if it's not installed properly.
Yeah.
If it's not mounted, if it's not balanced, if it's not, if the wheels aren't properly, installed and torqued for clamping force. So many things that TIA does that makes these amazing products perform.
Yeah.
That, you can make the greatest tire in the world on the greatest wheel in the world with the greatest vehicle in the world. But if the person doesn't mount it, inflate it, install it, repair it, retread it, and do all those other things properly, none of that technology is ever going to come to fruition and be realized by the end user. So
early in my carew, MJ, the other MJ, Mike Jordan, right? So who was my mentor for a number of years, saw a little bit of potential and had a gentleman come in and give me some training on sales. It was a small group of us, but I remember on the cover of his Xerox copied or whatever binder was basically a screwdriver, somebody using it, but trying to screw something in with the handle. right? You know, and the whole message was it's not a great tool unless you actually know how to use it, you
Correct.
know, and so you
Correct.
you can't just put it in the hands and just say here go and so on. So
Well, and again, I think that's what you look at. Yeah, people have asked me before, would you do things differently now,
yeah,
as where you are now compared to a technician? The absolutely yes.
yeah,
I had a number of close calls
yeah,
throughout my career as a technician,
Yeah.
and I just didn't know any better.
yeah.
And it's
To
that
your point, going back
perpetuation.
to it's a culture.
Yeah, it's perpetuation of bad habits. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that we were pretty good. My dad had a sign behind the counter that said "Good, fast, and cheap. Pick two."
Right.
And we were good and we were fast.
Yeah.
Which meant we weren't cheap.
Right.
And that's probably why he had to sell the business, because once it got to the point where we couldn't compete anymore on price, we're like, yeah, we know you're good, we know you're fast, but that's too much money for me to pay for that. So he was able to get out, and Pomps did him right. I mean, thank you to the Wachinskis for doing such a great job for my dad and the family business, and giving him an opportunity to retire comfortably, and now taking care of my mom as well. So I mean, it certainly was a great thing, and Pomps is a great company, and they've done the same thing. They've embraced that safety technology, that safety culture, and in protecting their people and their customers, and again, to play a role in that has been very rewarding for me. Again, I didn't get here alone. I'm not even going to pretend to suggest or even I guess insinuate that somehow I've done this by myself, because I haven't. I mean, I've had a team around me from day one, and I've been very fortunate and very blessed and very thankful to be where I am and be in a business that I love. I love the tire business. I got rubber dust in my blood. I grew up in it. Probably be in it for the rest of my work life, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Dick, please. I got bills to pay. But definitely love this business. Love the people.
Yeah.
They're tire guys. That's what I'm saying. Tire people are just, look, we're not fancy.
Right.
It's a tough business to be in, but everybody's pretty genuine, down to earth.
I was going to say, a lot of salt of the earth people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I tell my kids all the time, if you can find something you love, right, the old adage, you'll never work a day in your life, so if you enjoy doing it.
I got to do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm doing something that I like doing, something that I think I'm fairly good at.
Yep.
Something that suits my skill set, the skill set that I have, as limited it may be. But I think, again, it just was a nice fit. I'm the only one left.
Yeah.
Every other cousin and brother, everybody's out of the tire business.
Yeah.
I'm the only family member left in the tire, and it's a great name for the tire business. I mean, Rohlwing.
Yeah.
Your last name is Rohlwing. You're in the tire business. I mean,
Exactly.
it was a perfect thing. And my grandfather actually started. He was a chicken feed salesman, and all of the farmers that he was calling on were complaining about they couldn't get their tires changed.
And that's what got him into it?
And he was like, so he went to his brother and said, look, I got a bunch of people out here. And that's how he started. He started in the farm tire business.
Wow.
And then farm tires became trucks, and then trucks became cars, and then it just kind of built from there. But it all started with a chicken feed salesman and farmers complaining to him that they couldn't get their tires changed.
Unbelievable.
And then he started a business out of that, and put a lot of, you're talking about 4 families between him and his brother, and then my dad and his brother.
Yeah.
A lot of families in the Rohlwings had a lot of meals and a lot of clothes from the tire business. So, there's a certain degree of loyalty, I guess, to that. But, it is. It's a great business to be in. I tell people when I'm talking to groups and to students that, look, there's plenty of room here.
Right.
Right? You could grow, but you got to start from the bottom. And I think
Right.
that's the part that this younger generation kind of struggles with is, they're used to immediacy.
Yeah.
And in the tire business, you got to pay your dues. You got to
Yeah.
learn it. But if you learn it the right way, and you develop those skills and that knowledge and experience, you're marketable.
Absolutely.
You're marketable.
Can have a good lengthy career.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, we've both done okay.
yeah.
We've done both okay in the tire business. We ain't missing meals.
No complaints. No, not one yet.
No, not gonna start today either.
No. All right. Well, on that note, I really appreciate you making the time. I know your
problem.
schedule's busy.
Yeah, I know.
Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to? You've said
I think I've covered everybody. I can't tell you who's left.
you've set the Ask the Tire Turns podcast record for shout outs.
Well, but again, I don't want anybody to think that I feel that I'm here by myself.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing wife,
Yeah.
parents,
Yep.
my dad,
Could
just tough lessons, but valuable,
yeah.
and really taught me how to do it right.
Yeah.
And you know,
And
it's a good thing.
And as you go on, right? I mean, it is about family and,
Oh, absolutely.
and the lessons, and becomes more about even starting to probably your own legacy, right? You know, and
Yeah.
you don't think about that,
No,
but the mark that you've left with people, right? You
Absolutely.
know?
I think that, you know, a good life lived is a life that has helped others.
Yeah.
And whether I'm doing it through scouts
Yep.
or through church or through sports
Yeah.
or through work, whatever. I mean, I watched my dad do it.
Yeah.
I watched my mom do it. My brothers are doing it. I'm doing it. Our kids are doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what matters. I mean, you know, you're in the end, we're all going to end up in the same place.
Correct.
You know, and it's how do they remember you? And you know, my father was remembered in a lot of great ways. You know,
Yeah.
and my father-in-law who just passed away, same thing. I mean, you know, the memories of these people are what you carry with you.
Absolutely.
And the experiences and the things that they've taught you. And I know with your, you know, with your family and your daughters, you've taught them so much. And
Yeah.
and you guys have done such a great job raising your family, and they're great people.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna, you know, and it just keeps kind of going from there.
You
But
hope so, right?
yeah, you do. You never
Yeah.
know. You never know. All you can do is give them a toolbox.
Correct.
All you can do is give the kids a toolbox, and what they build with that toolbox is up to them.
Yeah.
And you know, I hope that my son does the same, and I know that my nephews and nieces are doing it. And if you know, when I'm all said and done and I'm gone, that people can hear my name and laugh, smile, tell a story about something that I've done that helped them, then I'm good. I'm okay with that. I can consider that a life well lived. And I think now as I'm getting older, you know, I'm going to be 60 here in a few years.
Yeah.
And I just think with you start looking back.
Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that. Oh, I just was, you know. And I wrote an obituary for my father that was quite lengthy.
Yeah.
But it said who he was.
Yeah.
And it's not just he lived here and died here and did this and this is survivors. It was who he was and what he did and the impact he had on people.
What he stood
and it was
for.
my friends.
Yeah.
And my brother's friends. And the kids that grew up with him. And, you know, and he was a baseball coach and he was a Cub master. And you know, a great story about my dad was he was a baseball coach and everybody played.
Yeah.
He had the worst record in the league
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
He was always last.
Yeah.
You know, but every kid played every game.
Yeah.
Because he watched me play under other coaches, and there were games I didn't even get in the game.
Yeah.
And he's like, here I come to see my kid play, and he doesn't even get to play.
Yeah.
What's that all about? He's like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And he would tell the parents that at the beginning. Look, if you want your kid to be on the competitive teams that are competing for championships, this ain't your team.
Yeah.
Because that's not how we play here.
Yeah.
But every kid played every game, and if you didn't start this week, you started next week.
Yeah.
And when he passed and we had his thing on social media, some of the former kids were like, I remember that. And my parents remembered that.
Yeah.
That matters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He left marks that are going to be around forever. And I hope that someday people will think that way about me.
Yeah.
So I still got a ways to go yet. Still some gas in the tanks.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Let's not put me on the parking lot yet.
I can relate. I mean, it's my dad wasn't in the business or the industry, but and my mom as well, right? You know, a lot of who I am, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Was formed by them. So
they give you the toolbox, and you built something great with it because you had that moral and ethical compass that your parents give you.
Yeah.
And I had great ones. I had, you know, my mom was the heart, and it was the carrot and stick.
Yeah.
You know, dad was the stick, mom was the carrot.
Yeah.
And you needed that. And, you know, when she needed to, she was there to pick us up when we needed it. And he was there to, you know, he didn't need a stick.
No.
He needed big mitts.
Yeah.
He put the mitt on you. You remember that.
A different era. Anyway.
Yes, it was. Definitely. And now my son's bigger than me, so I got to be careful with that. They always ask me, what would happen? I'm like, I think I got about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get tired and he's not. It's going to be over fast.
Well, listen, we're in the South, so I feel like this is a Southern goodbye,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
It's taken twice to do that. But again, I really do appreciate you making the time.
Anytime.
And I will say, join us next time for another episode.
We'll just look over there too.
As the tire turns,
All
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Be safe.
Kevin, thank you very much, buddy.
Anytime. Appreciate it, Keith.
Take care.
All right, you too.
Thanks for listening to As the Tire Turns. Join us next week when we sit down with Haltech Corporation's Dave Caruso.